they were talking a little bit about toxic people and how they tend to manifest themselves regardless of where you are. Like, there's a certain subset of people, and they're going to be a certain kind of toxic no matter where they find themselves. So, for example, maybe it's a hardcore PvP game that you're playing. Well, there's going to be a certain kind of people that are griefers. They just live to make other people's life as miserable as possible, and they get a thrill out of that. Or they min-max, and then they're really, really aggressive about being very granular about what constitutes an acceptable build or something like that, you know. And they're just, basically, they're people who look at a game as if that game is their job. And they don't have a level of being comfortable not being in control. They have to master the arena, and they can't just enjoy the experience for its own sake. And those people are really obnoxious. They're obnoxious in a game. They're obnoxious in real life too. It's kind of interesting, again, how gaming can mimic life, because in many ways life is very much a game where we pick a role, we play that role, and whether we enjoy our life or whether we enjoy a game is really contingent not so much on the game, but on our attitude toward it. And to illustrate this, I pay attention to MMOs. Sometimes I think I spend more time reading about them and listening to YouTubers talk about them and things like that than I actually spend playing them. But they fascinate me. And I also think about other genres, and lately Cities Skylines 2 came out, so I've been on the Facebook message board following that community, and it's been really entertaining to see a whole lot of people really up in arms because they hate the game's performance and certain aspects of its graphics at launch. It actually reminds me a lot of what happened with New World. When New World launched a while ago, people just hated it. But that was right after they got done hyping it up. They were so excited for this new game to come out, and then the new game didn't live up to their expectation that it was going to transform their lives. It was just a game, and it wasn't a perfect game. And that made them so angry, and then they got mad, and then it started to be a thing where it seemed like the fans of the game were so obsessed with raging against their own game that they would discourage new players from playing. And if somebody said they were having fun, they would get angry at that person, as if that person who was saying that they enjoyed their experience was guilty of spreading some kind of harmful disinformation. So you have these people, they're actively playing a game while they spend more time complaining about it than they do actually enjoying it. And it is that way also in life. I think about people in high power positions where they've worked their life away to get to a certain level, and then everything is always about trying to prove themselves, trying to get to the next level, trying to be in control not just of their experience, but also of the experience of others around them. And that's really toxicity in a nutshell, where you aren't focusing on you anymore. You're focusing on everybody else around you. You're just trying to see what other people are doing so that you can get involved in their affairs, get involved in their business, and then control them in some way. And that's not really the point. It's not the point in a game. It's not the point in life. You're supposed to enjoy the experience, not make it all about determining what kind of experience others have or what kind of a role others play in your personal experience. Learning to let go of things a little bit, to say things don't have to be perfect and I don't have to be in control all the time, is a really important step toward finding an equilibrium and peace in your life. Because then when you let things go a little bit, then you can step back and you can say, you know what? All right, maybe this game isn't perfect, but I'm having a good experience, right? It doesn't have to meet my expectations because life is filled with things that don't meet expectations. As a matter of fact, if I have learned anything, it's to have no expectations and make that my expectation. That anything I think is going to happen, it might, but it totally might not happen too. If you think about it, that's how you enjoy your life and make peace with the fact you're going to eventually die too. Because you can enjoy life as it is, but that doesn't change the fact that your experience is going to change and eventually end. And that's okay, but it's not okay if you're always determined to be on top, because what happens when you are really determined to climb the leaderboard, to min-max, and then you reach endgame and you realize, well, shoot, my character has an expiration date, right? That's kind of concerning. If you expected something to be permanent that isn't. So that leads me to one more point I wanted to make on this topic of maybe not being toxic and making the most of your experience. And that is, there's certain types of experiences that attract certain types of people. So for example, let's say competitive PvP games. They tend to attract people who are more competitive sorts of people. A full loot drop on death PvP game like Albion Online tends to attract people who get a thrill out of unequal fights, an unfair fight where you bring more people to the battle or you have higher gear or something, and so you're able to win because you're lucky, versus maybe a different type of PvP game like Age of Empires, for example. If you were playing that game, then it's all about the sportsmanship of everyone playing on an equal, fair footing to start with, and then it's all about skill. So maybe the archetype of an Albion Online player is something a little bit more like gang warfare, and the archetype of something like Age of Empires is more like playing the role of a commander or a general on the battlefield, where there is a level of competition, but the type of competition is more focused on understanding the rules and being proficient at them, rather than just relying on yourself to hustle your way up. So different games create different levels of potential toxicity in a core player base, and if you want a certain kind of experience, maybe you should not spend your time investing in a product which tends to attract the wrong kind of people. So, for example, I'm playing Albion Online, but I'm not really a PvP kind of a player. I'm a casual. I don't really like PvP. So, in a way, this is not really the suitable game for me. And yet I realized despite the fact that I've often tried to move away from Albion Online, I've always come back to it because there's something about the game I just really, really enjoy. And what it is two things. I enjoy the fact that the game has a realistic economy, and I enjoy the fact that there's absolutely no objectives, no quests. There's nothing that makes me feel like when I log in, there's something specific that I need to be doing. So it's very easy in Albion Online for me to feel like it's a complete experience that doesn't need something more to happen in order for me to say that I've reached the level of achievement I need to reach. And I think it's really nice to have that experience when you compare it to other experiences where there's quests to do, there's objectives to complete, there's content you need to work through, and it's a game that maybe is less conducive to just picking it up where you are, whenever you feel like it, and enjoying it for whether maybe it's 10 minutes in a day or maybe it's 2 hours, you know, to just be able to kind of pick it up and put it down. But all in all, that leads me to my last point, and that is, what do you do when you enjoy something, but it's also something that maybe attracts the wrong kind of people in some cases? Because I will tell you that the player base in Albion Online is not really all that great. Doesn't mean that there's not great people who play Albion Online, but if you just were to grade the game based off of what people say in global chat, you'd probably have a rather poor opinion of the player base. And yet, there are amazing people who play the game. I know that for a fact. And that leads me to the fact that you have to make your own experience and be a bit dismissive of what everyone else might be thinking, and then create an environment where the toxic behaviors of others don't harm you. So maybe, for example, I'll go into the red zone or the black zone if I feel like it once in a while in Albion Online for a little bit of a thrill. But I'll do so with gear that has no value to me. So I'm not worried at all if I lose it. And then I don't have to even really be stressed if somebody comes and kills me when I'm out there because I didn't really put anything on the line. Or maybe I just don't even go to those dangerous areas because I don't normally feel like worrying about hiding from people and then having that kind of a simulation of a negative experience. I'd rather just click stones and gather my crops and hang out in the game for a few minutes relaxing and then log out and call it a day. And is there really anything to prevent me from doing that? No, the answer is absolutely not. Now, you can say that you've gated yourself off from content and you're missing out, but the truth is you're not really. You're only missing out if you truly are not having a good experience. So one thing we're not very good at is just analyzing how we feel about an experience we're having. To say, okay, I just did this. How did I feel about it? Did I enjoy that experience? Did it feel rewarding? And if the answer is yes, then I think I'll invest more time into that. And if the answer is no, then you just let it go. You say, okay, well, what would I enjoy more? What did I enjoy more? And then you do that. And be kind of conscious of what kind of fruit something bears in your life. And if you get a good experience out of something, then invest more time into it. But if you don't get a good experience, don't continue to force yourself to pretend that you're having a good time. And an example of this would be, you know, I've tried to get into New World and I've enjoyed the game. That's a game I enjoy. I like New World. But the truth is, other than getting my character to max level, I kind of tend to enjoy Albion Online a little bit more. And it's kind of weird because the graphics are not as good, and there's reasons, a lot of reasons, to say why maybe New World would be a more fun game objectively. But to me, Albion Online has always been something that felt a little bit special. So it's a game I tend to always come back to. Even when I say that I've quit, I really, I still have my premium active usually because I buy it many months in advance. So even if I quit, it just means maybe I took a break in reality because I enjoy the game. And I think that it's really easy to sign up for something and then you have to say, well, I have to have fun. Genshin Impact is a good example of that. Genshin Impact is such a beautiful open world game. I got nothing but good to say about it. And yet the truth is, it started to feel like a grind. I just don't want to go log in and do more of the same thing. I don't want to do more of the little quests. I don't want to read the walls of text. I don't want to kill the same little creatures over and over again. I don't want to do the daily commissions. Like, it just started to feel like it wasn't fun. And I don't like that because I know that there was a time when I really felt transported by that game. And I thought, my goodness, I love this game so much. It's so amazing. But then after a while, the truth is I didn't feel like that anymore. And then there's that period of time where you try to convince yourself that you're having fun when you're not. And it's probably better to just let something be done and say, okay, I had an amazing experience for a little while. And it doesn't mean I'll never come back. But I'm not going to force myself to pretend to have fun if that means that I'm going to put myself in a position where I don't have time to do things that I actually want to do. Which is why my goal lately has been to spend much less time playing RPGs and MMOs and games like that, which are endless grinds, and instead focus my time on city builders and other creative mediums that are more rewarding in terms of giving me something to show for my time when I am done. And that's also required a lot of kind of letting things go to a certain point, because we just don't have time to dabble in every single thing out there. So to wrap up, you have a good experience in life by avoiding toxic people. You can avoid toxic people by not doing the things toxic people are likely to do. Or you can just do things that you enjoy regardless of who else is there and what they're doing. But make sure that you play your game in a way that doesn't expose you to the agendas that toxic people may have. And then always remember to judge something by the fruit it bears, not by your expectations of it. So if you're having a good time, then spend more time doing things that really feel rewarding. And if something doesn't feel rewarding, don't be afraid to take a break. As always, thank you for watching. Good luck on your adventure, wherever it might take you. Till next time.